Early recording.
So thank you.
All right.
I will call the January 13th regular board meeting for Lowell Light and Power for January 13th to order. Charlie, if you do roll call.
Chairperson Beecham.
Here.
Vice Chair Conger.
Here.
Board Member Cadwalder.
Here.
Board Member Crawford.
Here.
Board Member Schraubin.
Here.
All are present.
Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Approval of the minutes from the December 9th, 2025 regular board meeting.
So moved.
So moved.
Supported.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Moving on to safety moment.
All right, I actually have a safety moment this go around, so I thought we'd do something a little bit different. We don't have any action items, so wasn't happy to take whatever time here, but wanted to highlight, and Zach's here to answer questions. He's probably honestly more knowledgeable than I am, but these are, for one, want to talk about slips, trips, and falls. It's one of our big topics at work, but also incredibly relevant for everybody at home, especially this time of year with ice. And more than that, also just the stuff that's around after the holidays. I know my house is almost put back together after the holidays, but we still have stuff scattered. Yeah, lots of slips, trips, and fall opportunities. But these forms here are not intended to replace safety meetings by any means, but they're a good conversation guide. So the outside crew, Zach and all the guys, start their week off each Monday morning with just a quick discussion, 10-minute discussion on safety. Somebody, as you can see, it kind of, this one is slip, trips, and falls, major causes. And it just kind of runs through and gives some talking points. And it's intended to just kind of spur a little conversation. So obviously dirty floors are a major cause of slips, trips, and falls, but then also floors with water, grease, any sort of contamination, but also things like dust, powders, floor transitions. These are a lot of things that the guys deal with. And it's just, these conversation guides are good to reset the brain after the weekend. There's a lot of thoughts and a lot of research on psychological safety and how the human mind plays into workplace safety. And one of the things that we really stress and Zach really stresses is that your weekend's over, reset your brain and refocus. We acknowledge that everybody has things going on in their lives. Everybody's hopefully enjoying their own life and what they have going on in their world on their weekends. But when Monday comes around, it's really important to reset. It's kind of like the huddle in a football game before the play. It's something to just get your brain focused on it. But as you can see, it's kind of leads to a guide of discussion of potential slip hazards in the work area. It talks a little bit about just general housekeeping, power cords stretched out across walkways, filing cabinets, doors, drawers, things like that are out there, uneven work surfaces, wrinkles in the carpet, a lot of different areas. And again, these are all geared towards workplace discussions, but thought they were very relevant from an everyday life as well. We'll scroll on to the next one. So this was just like I said, just a major causes, and then there's another one that gets into prevention. The best prevention for slips, trips, and falls is what I would say the first and the last, good housekeeping, and then walk at a safe pace. Don't run. At work, obviously, I think it's also a little. Never talk on phones or text while walking. Everybody talks on the phone while they walk. It talks on the phone. I will say, texting and walking, it's got so bad. I guarantee everybody's got a situation or something in their mind that's somebody wandering into them because they're too busy texting instead of walking, or watched somebody walk into a street sign once, because they were texting, so. But like I said, wanted to kind of dual purpose with this safety moment. It's always good to talk about slip, strips and falls, other, general safety practices that happen here that are also relevant at home, but also wanted to put it in the context of how the guys go through kind of starting their week. And again, these are not intended to replace safety meetings, but they really are a good conversation guide. And then Zach also has come over to the office and led office type conversations, using these as the framework to have those conversations. So just an opportunity to build on a safety program and tackle a safety program holistically, not just by checking the boxes, by meeting the hour requirements or the topic requirements. We really want our safety program to have meaningful outcomes. And I think it definitely does, and our safety culture is reflected. So that's the safety moment. Happy to take any questions, or if anybody would like to dig into this a little bit.
Last meeting we had, you were slipping pretty good
Yeah.
on the floors here. So I went home and just like my car tires, I actually threw 3 pairs of shoes away because I love my shoes. I don't care how old they are or how thin they are. I'll wear them until I can't wear them anymore. So I threw 3 pairs away just because there's nothing there. There's no tread on them whatsoever. And so I took that in mind. So I was hoping to see a couple of pads down here this week, a rug, but didn't happen. So
No.
I can't bring them. I see that, but again, it's something that I saw you and I thought, well, this can happen anytime, anywhere.
No, and that's.
You're not supposed to wear your bowling shoes here.
You should push
Oh,
it.
I would stick, because I got the slide pads on, the only one shoe, the only one. Only one.
No, and that's, it's one of the things that in life, you never know the things that you do to avoid something.
Mhm.
Who knows if you avoided a slip, trip, fall, anything like that, but you didn't hurt the chances of it, that's for sure. So it's hard to get confirmation of things avoided, but we'll assume that it avoided something. We'll assume it's at a minimum, it's bringing awareness to potential issues. I think that's great.
Okay.
All right, safety moment.
We'll move on, public comment, any public wants to make any comments?
Well, I would like to add something under this out in the comments. Last week we met with Lou Bender over at the firehouse, the city did, and we came up with one of our goals that we are going to address individual boards. We're gonna sit down and have a meeting, the council with Light and Power Board. We're gonna have one with planning. So we're gonna look at what does that look forward and how do we help you and how do you help us? That's one of our goals that we kind of slipped away from that over years. So I think, and Charlie's aware of it. So we'll put something together on whether we come to one of your board meetings or have it on a different meeting, but we want to get more engaged in what you guys would like to see from us and vice versa. So stay tuned for some of those things that we're looking at. How do we move forward? So we think it's important. Moving forward. Charlie, you got anything to add on that?
So I had a follow-up conversation with the mayor as well. Obviously was aware, participated, sat through the planning meeting where it was kind of discussed a little bit more, but followed up with the mayor, had a great conversation and really encouraged with, just opening some additional lines of communication, which they're always there, but, applying some formality to it, putting some structure around it, I think is a great opportunity to find some synergies and find where there's win-win situations. And they don't call them win-win situations because it leaves somebody in the dust. And we know that there are opportunities that collaboration will ultimately result in a better outcome for the community. And I know I'm excited to be able to participate. So
how it works. So look forward.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, action items, there are no action items. We'll move on to informational items.
All right, and so yeah, as Perry mentioned, there's no action items. Happy to take this time to dig a little deeper into some of the informational items, if it's appropriate. We are reporting basically we're reporting halfway through the year for the most part. 6 months in, so we're starting to see some of those 6-month trends at this point. Some of them I'm still going to kind of gloss over just because we've talked about them regularly, but I think the sales are pretty interesting because we're really seeing in the last few years, if you go all the way out to the right and you look at our current year, you're really starting to see the result of some of the load growth that we talked about. You really see long-term trends. Before a couple years ago, our sales were really stacked on, those lines were really stacked on top of each other. And then we had a couple larger expansions, some some expansion projects at large customers, some new large customers, and you really start to see the overall trends. And load growth is good because ultimately that's what helps us keep pace with some of our rising expenses. So good to see. Not really much to highlight here. We've talked about it on and off for a couple years now, but I thought as I was looking at the graph preparing, you really start to see that this year and the previous 2 years start to separate themselves from the rest of the pack. Moving on to industrial sales. Again, a lot of this is driven by industrial sales, and it's kind of interesting because our sales are sitting very, very similar to previous year, and that's to be expected because at the industrial level, there's just less of an impact of less weather generated fluctuations in consumption. Most of their consumption's not driven by the weather, and when you have a single large industrial expansion like we did with one of our largest customers, seeing this consistency is good. Helps us prepare, helps us fine tune our forecasts, and the more accurate our forecast can be, the more opportunity there is to limit that bandwidth that we operate in. Moving on, commercial is very similar. You start to see that consistent year-over-year growth in the commercial level, which is really good to see because commercial customers tend to kind of be that hybrid where weather definitely has a greater impact on commercial customers, but not to the same degree as your residential customers. Moving on to residential, we've talked about this one at length over the last few years, but again, we're still riding an elevated or a hot summer, rounding out July and starting the year with July and August. It was a warm summer, and it really shows how weather can impact our residential sales. Moving on to cost per kilowatt hour. One of the things that I'd like to just note overall, we are seeing a flattening of these lines, the trend lines. Obviously, you can see quite a bit of fluctuation, and you get more. And again, I'll remind everybody these are at a cost per kilowatt hour, so on an all-in bill divided by the kilowatt hours. So you see a greater fluctuation at the residential level because there's just a higher percentage of the bill that's a fixed charge. The more sales you have, the more kilowatt hours you have to spread that fixed charge across. But it's very encouraging to see these lines flattening out, just the trend lines flattening out a little bit. I definitely see some upward pressure still on the residential customers, and I think that trend will somewhat continue, but overall, it's nice to see rate stability, and that's important for our customers, even though when you look at it inside any individual month, there can be, or between 2 months, there can be quite a bit of fluctuation, but overall, we're seeing healthy trends there. Moving on to cash, definitely lost just a little bit of cash this month. I hesitate to go out on a limb and say we anticipate growing some cash this month, but realistically, outside of any extenuating circumstances, there should be. There's a lot of timing things when it comes to cash. We've got some invoices out to customers that haven't come back. We have some capital projects that we're ultimately going to invoice the city for their portion of for the IT stuff. So not concerned with cash at all, but it's something that we do monitor very closely, and we want to make sure we're staying in compliance with that 120-day policy. But expect to see some some stability in the cash as well. Aging analysis, I don't really have anything. Electric requirements, don't really have anything of note. Happy to answer any questions. PCA, wanted to touch on. Again, you can see we're still sitting at a relatively elevated PCA, which unfortunately is aligned with MPPA's power cost projections that we use to inform the budget and our power supply anticipated expenses. So while it's not what we would ideally like to see, it is elevated, and we anticipate that to remain somewhat elevated through the remainder of the year. And that is performance data, I believe. Yes. All right, we'll roll on to outage report. Zach, if you want to take the outage report.
Yeah, we had two outages, one on Overly. Massive tree decided to come down for no reason. Completely uprooted, no wind at the time of the day it was. And went completely across the road and just barely smacked our wires and knocked them down.
If we could have identified 2,000 trees in the town, on our system to cut down,
That wouldn't have been one.
would not have been on the list. So unfortunately, we do have those outages.
Yep. And then on Alton Ash, we also had a tree that the homeowner called the fire department because it was sparking. So
Which section of Alton Nash?
up here by high school.
Maybe they can get to 15 different places.
It's actually, there's right across from Drew Drive, there's a long driveway that goes back. There's 4 or 5 houses back there, 5 houses apparently to this. And it was that tap he had to de-energize and.
All right,
So that's all I got.
here's the outage report. Any comments, questions on the outage report per sec? All right, we will roll on to the income statement. I'll take. So really of note, kind of doing a 6-month kind of refresher on the income statement and starting up at operating revenue. We are slightly ahead of budget, 2.75% variance to our favor. That's pretty aligned with when you have this much weather variability in your revenue. That's a pretty budget aligned number, which is great. And it does correlate to a similar purchase power expense over budget that you'll see under the operating expenses. But overall, if you drop all the way to the bottom and you look at our net income or our operating income, either or, you pick your poison. But I like to look at net income. We continue to stay behind where we were last year, which is what we anticipated. Last year was quite a bit of cash recovery through the PCA from the previous fiscal year. So we had some elevated elevated revenue at that point, but we're trending ahead of our budget and sitting in a pretty healthy spot. So obviously we pay attention to the income statement quite a bit because that's ultimately what flows through and helps inform capital budget management, debt management. It kind of all starts with our income statement. So sitting in a good spot. Happy to answer any questions. There's a lot of variation between individual accounts or individual groups of accounts, but overall we're sitting in a good spot. Other note I'll make on the income statement is beginning with January, we are going to start billing the new EWR charges. I'll remind the board that that revenue was not factored into our current budget. When we developed the budget, we did not have visibility into what that program expense was going to cost. So we didn't budget for any substantial increase in expense, but we also didn't budget for that increased revenue. So those should absorb, even though we did budget for some expanded EWR.
Can you refresh what that cost is
I'm sorry.
per month?
For the EWR?
Yeah.
So energy waste reduction, it differs per rate class. Our residential and small commercial, it's a per kilowatt hour charge, and I'd have to look at the actual number. I believe at the residential level, it's expected to be about $1 to $2 a month increase. At the small commercial level, it's, I believe, around a $4 a month increase, but I'd have to dig back into the specifics. And then when you get to some of the larger customers, the charges vary significantly depending on what your load looks like. So our biggest customers' charges are just under $1,500 a month. Smaller commercial charges are I don't remember where the lower end is, but we really tiered our larger commercial customers inside of, I believe it was 8 different tiers based on their usage to try and align and keep their charges proportionate to their usage.
I know you've been talking about it, but just in case somebody new comes on tonight and looks at this, well, what does this all mean? I mean, I haven't been paying attention the last 6 months, but just in case somebody new is.
Yes, in the EWR charts, we're gonna talk about that when we get to the reports. It's less, I would say, new for the residential and small commercial. Small commercial is gonna go from a fixed charge to a variable charge tied to the kilowatt hour. Where we see the biggest change from last year to this year is really at the larger commercial industrial level. And we're going to talk about a business breakfast later, where we're really trying to engage that community and that customer segment group and communicate those changes and really try to partner with our commercial industrial customers. Because while we're collecting this money, I think it's important to note that, for one, it's a legislative mandate to enact these programs, which we've historically had regardless of legislative requirements. But we're collecting these EWR charges, and essentially it's funding programs for our customers. So we want our customers to get this money back. It's kind of a unique situation. So in their ability to access this money is ultimately our path to legislative compliance. So it's an opportunity. While we do have to collect the funds from them, and it's a charge that hits their bill, we really need to partner with them to get that money back in their hands. So for one, we can maximize the value of the programs, but also that's our path to compliance. And utility that remains in compliance with all requirements is more likely to be able to address the needs of the customer. So it's not the perfect world, but it's the world we live in, and we're going to do our best at it. Any questions on the income statement? Here, roll. All right. We'll go to capital budget. Like I said, we're 6 months into the capital budget, so we are really starting to see some things pick up. And I'll just, Casey, if you wouldn't mind, we'll jump down. Well, I'll pause here for just a second. The only thing I will highlight is that Flat River Estates, you see a negative number. And the reason for that is we complete a project. This project happened to span multiple fiscal years. And then at the end of the project, we compile all of the project costs and apply our contribution and aid policy to it, which tells us how much money we should be contributing to a new service. And then we bill the customer the difference. So in this situation, what we bill at the end more than offset this current year's budget, but I don't want the board to think we made $9,000. It's just offsetting $9,000 worth of expenses that are not captured in this capital budget. They were captured in previous capital budget. So I don't remember what that total project cost was, but it ends up being a split of expenses, and that's just timing wise, that's reflected. Other thing I'll highlight here, since I talked about it in the cash, as we saw a little bit of cash erosion, we invoiced for Flat River Estates. We also invoiced for the new phase at Stony Bluff. Both of those invoices are reflected in the capital budget, but they are not reflected in cash. So they hit the capital budget time they're invoiced. But then obviously the cash is not reflected until we receive those funds. We have since then received those funds, and the cash will be reflected next month. But then if you will scroll down to the next page, Casey, thank you. Just want to highlight the IT project. That was the server replacement. That number as well, tell me if I'm saying anything wrong, does not reflect the city's portion. Because of the way that the relationship works between us, the city, and IP Consulting, we handle all the invoicing, we pay all the invoicing, and then we ultimately invoice the city for their portion. So you will see we're not currently over budget, even though it appears we are. That does not reflect the city's contribution, which will be reflected in a future date. So again, that's another cash thing where the cash is out the door, but the other side of the entry is just not there yet. So from a timing standpoint, that looks slightly elevated. Capital equipment is one that is going to stay over budget. These are things like the transformers, and we've had lots of conversations on transformers, and trying to think. I don't think we have any large orders pending right now. It can be incredibly challenging to keep track of.
There might be some transformers we haven't paid for yet.
That's right. Transformers are tough because they come in, even if you put them all in one order, they might ship you 5, then they might ship you 2. So it's a moving target a little bit. As we've mentioned, we knew that we were going to go over budget on transformers, and luckily, if you're going to go over budget on something that's so integral to certain customers is a good place to do it. And some of it's just based on needs that are not foreseeable at the time of budgeting. We live in a fluid world. So system expansion budget, that's, as I mentioned, that's Flat River Estates, that's Stony Bluff. You'll see a large credit there. And this month, that reflects the aid to construction, and brings, at this point, these were one of the things that, once the budget was established, we had some project delays in other places. So we were actually able to move some of Stony Bluff into the previous fiscal year, even though the entire project was actually budgeted for this year. So again, just some timing elements. Other than that, continue to make great progress on voltage conversion projects. And getting ready to really, Zach's ramping up planning, and come spring, the undergrounding project up on Little G Drive will really ramp up, and you'll start to see some progress there. But overall, we're fairly aligned, especially based on some of the adjustments that we were forced to make after the budget was approved. And we obviously need to be nimble and adjust as appropriate, and we've done a pretty good job of managing those changes. Any questions on capital projects? All right. Zach, you're up. Distribution report.
So a couple updates. The tree truck is leaving tomorrow morning to get fixed. We're dropping off in Howell, and then they're gonna do quickest turnaround they can do. Just to remind you, it's getting the hydraulic cylinder replaced that's leaking, and then we're putting the automatic boom latch on there, so we don't have to walk around a slippery boom platform and go to the other side of the truck for no reason every time. But yeah, we'll send that down to Howell tomorrow. Mutual aid was fantastic. Guys were there for a few days. Great reviews from Homework. Invited us back any chance that they have problems. Also offered out their help if we ever have problems. So that was nice to hear.
Where's the site located?
Yeah.
Where's Homework right on?
They are Portland North, kind of intermingling with consumers up to like Blanchard.
I would say they have an office in Blanchard, and an office in Portland.
That's their 2 offices, but it's kind of sporadic.
Almost up to M20, right?
Is it a
They go up to Cadillac.
It's a co-op. It's who we do a lot of safety training with them. We work with Portland and the Portland crew from Tri-County Home Works.
Yeah.
But if you're driving into Portland on Grand River, they're building the co-ops are building a big transmission line, new substation. Our office is actually right next to it. They've got some solar panels out in front of their office. If you drive by, and see it, that's not necessarily where we work for this, but that's the same utility.
Yeah, that's all I have.
So any questions for Zach or any burning desire to dig into anything more? All right. Casey, you're up.
Yeah, so, I got those 3 items on my report, then other things that I'd like to add, this past week, at the end of every year, we have our annual compliance, reporting. And those are, like federal government has, the Energy Information, Administration, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
EIA. Where basically we just report our how much we operated throughout this past year. So that annual report's done. I also finished our annual reporting for the state of Michigan for our air permitting, which again is just the similar. How much do we operate? How much gas do we consume? And they just make sure that we don't go past our limit. And our limit is like 2,000 hours of operation. So
We're hitting,
Yeah.
for context, when we run in calendar year, maybe 40 hours typically.
60 hours.
Oh man, it was actually, it was a busy year.
It was double.
I was gonna say,
last year.
it was probably, that might be the heaviest year we've ever had running.
Yeah, last year was quite light, but 2025 was double 2024, but still was pretty light.
Verdantis, it was formerly,
Formerly GRP.
correct, okay, thank you.
Yep. What else? And I also completed our, it's called a SARA Title III report. And what that is just an annual report that goes to your local like fire department. And we just report on chemicals that we have, specifically battery banks, lead acid, just so the fire department knows that if you respond to this location, there are so many gallons or mass of, mixed lead acid batteries here. So anyway, that hasn't changed. We still have the same battery banks here and the same battery bank at the substation. So those are all of my annual reports that I do, and I got them all done this week. So
Do you see any change negatively or positively since Verdantis? I mean, is it just the name change? Is it a whole? You're smiling because you got something. I stepped in something.
there have been a lot of changes this past year with staffing. A lot of key veteran staff have left either by choice or retirement. So new staff has taken their place, and we are working with that new staff. But there are some challenges just because of the lack of familiarity with our system and our projects, where we were 10 years ago and where we are today, where we want to be in 10 years, that vision is kind of what we have to educate them on. And Zach and I have been meeting with them to discuss our projects that we see as a future for the system. They're performing their study, and then they're gonna provide their feedback on our projects, any recommendations that they have. But overall, distribution system is very healthy. You know, we don't have any major issues or restrictions or, you know, capacity challenges. So we have a good, healthy distribution system, but we are going to make it even better in the future. So.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing I want to add there is just want to highlight that natural gas supply evaluation is really part of a much bigger project where we're working with MPPA on looking at expanding generation down here. MPPA provided their preliminary report essentially of their first year due diligence efforts, and our site is still has still been identified as an attractive site. So we're going to spend this year working with MPPA. We actually have our first call this year later this week Friday to dig into kind of next steps and what does the first year MPPA strategic initiative with just identifying who has capacity, who has a local appetite, who has supportive community, supportive board for the potential to add generation, and then are there any fatal flaws? If there's no gas supply, if there's no capacity on the distribution system, and so we kind of got through that first initial run and really going to dive into what an actual project might look like this year. But it's definitely, I touch on it in my manager's report from a power supply standpoint, working with MPPA, but we see it as a great opportunity to help fill our short position. And there's a lot of advantages of going with a behind the meter generation, like an expanded resource here. Obviously there will be limitations, there's distribution circuit limitations, there's property limitations, there's natural gas supply. There's a lot of things that may shape what that ultimately looks like, but want to really do our best and make it a concerted effort this year to make sure the board is kept in the loop as we progress through this, because potentially this could be a potential major initiative moving forward if it ultimately makes the cut and we want to proceed with this. It would be a major decision point for the board, and it would ultimately come to the board. So Casey's doing a great job of uncovering every stone and continues to work with MPPA staff. So more to come. Want to kind of lay the groundwork for the year. All right. Megan's up for the office report. Casey probably.
Sorry.
Oh, I can't talk.
Stand on my report.
It'll come back.
There you go.
So I just wanted to touch kind of on our software and NSC. We had a call with them last week, I believe. Kind of a not necessarily a kickoff call. It was kind of impromptu kind of thing. Just yeah.
Implementation alignment call, I believe is what they call it.
Call. There you go. So we met with a couple of people that I think we might not directly be working with in the implementation process, but are kind of like the leads of the teams that we will be working with. So we got to see some faces and meet some people. And then we discussed a tentative schedule as far as when we would go live with both financials. So everything, GL, accounts payable, accounts receivable, all of our assets. And that is scheduled for October. And then their kind of standard practice is to have a minimum of 100 days between the go live of financials and then the go live of service, which is our customer side of things. And so that right now is scheduled for February. So we have a very busy year coming up. They were kind of talking, they touched on kind of the months leading up to each go live date would be fairly busy, pretty labor intensive, which we expected, but it just, when you actually put dates on it and kind of just make it a little more, which we're excited about. So But yeah, that's the update there. So looking forward to getting that process started. Our next step is to reach out to Millsoft and get the conversation started about leaving them. So yeah, so that's that. And then Charlie, if you want to update on the EWR.
Yeah, wanted to just touch base, Julie, Hillary, Lisa, everybody's been working through the various pieces of EWR implementation, whether that's billing, or what I want to really highlight is this business breakfast. All board members should have received an invite in the mail. Want to really encourage you all, if you can come. This is one of those type of issues that having board involvement, board awareness, is definitely important. It's a challenging situation where we tout local control, and our rates are low, partially because a lot of factors, but partially because rate making decisions are made here. In that local control aspect, so important. Obviously, that local control is not all encompassing. There are certain pieces that we fall under state regulatory requirements, the EWR being a big one, and we see it as a major challenge. The goals and the expenses, they set some pretty lofty goals for us. But really, Case, I'm sorry, we scroll to the next page. It's just the invite. But what we're doing, included in your packet, this is the invite, and then the next page, which you don't have to scroll through by any means. The next page is just a letter that was sent to all of our larger commercial industrial accounts, the customers that are tiered, and we highlighted what their current charge was and what we anticipate their future charge will be. But we're really using this event to try and network and engage with our commercial industrial customers. So it's going to be at the council chambers at City Hall. It's the first one we've done in a long time, so we really don't know what to expect. But I'm going to do a little kickoff. MPPA there. I believe Steve is planning on attending and presenting on kind of the transition of our power supply. It's something that we're hearing from our business customers, industrial customers more and more, that they're being asked about their carbon footprint. They're being asked about their various scope emissions, with scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. And we're seeing more and more outreach from our customers wanting more and more information on that power supply transition. MPPA had a really interesting initiative that Casey and I looked at, where it's carbon intensity forecasting, and really getting into the details of where our power comes from and what those resources look like, all the way down to the market balancing. Everything that we have from our assets is quite a bit more straightforward, but when you get into market mix and that, it becomes less what we have control over. So Steve's going to come do a presentation on our changing power supply. Also going to touch on Joint Action Agency, who is MPPA. I think that's really good for our commercial industrial customers to hear. I'm going to talk a little bit about the value of public power, and we're going to try and modify the the community impact report. The community impact report focused on residential rate savings, but I want to kind of tweak that a little bit to focus on C&I rate savings, so that we can cater that message a little bit more specifically to those customers. And then we're also going to have Franklin Energy do a presentation, which Franklin Energy is MPPA's partner and the implementer of MPPA's energy waste reduction program. So should be a really good presentation, good opportunity. We're going to do everything we can to pack as many people in there as possible. But getting people to those things can be a challenge. So definitely want to invite all aboard. Jim, please. Please join us. All right, cool. If you can, definitely should be a good opportunity. It should be a good opportunity to engage with some of those customers. So.
ask other council members if they had the opportunity to attend, they should.
That'd be fantastic. So, yeah, fantastic. And then, yeah, the letter was the other thing in there. I just included that because I wanted the board to see just what some of our messaging was around the program. Tried to highlight, tough to boil things down to a single one-page letter that though it's got to be short enough that somebody's willing to read it, but it's got to have enough information that it's worth their time to read. So try to communicate some things, really encourage them to come to the meeting, knowing that that's where they'll be able to ask their questions, and we really want to create a dialogue with them. And that is the EWR breakfast. Any questions for anybody else? All right, I will roll on to my manager's report. Again, I'll highlight, there's a lot going on at MPPA. One thing I do just want to highlight is MPPA CEO Pat Bowen, who has been here on numerous occasions, incredibly well respected, incredibly talented, incredibly knowledgeable. He has announced his retirement in early 2027. So want to wish him obviously the best. We still have over a year, and he will be instrumental in the transition process, but I was also asked to serve on a small subcommittee to be part of the transition and the hiring process. So definitely pulling me away from Lowell proper a little bit, but really working towards the betterment of the Joint Action Agency.
Am I safe to assume that since you're on the committee, you won't be a candidate?
I have zero interest in putting my name in the hat for that. Hadn't crossed my mind. I'm here.
Okay. Just
No, so we're excited for that process. But yeah, no, not the plan is not to put my name in the hat.
I'm just out of curiosity. You're president. That's a year-to-year thing, right? Or
So I'm president of MMEA.
Oh,
And that's a 2-year term that'll expire this fall. And I'm currently the vice chair of MPPA, and that is technically it's kind of like our board where it's technically a 1-year. We reorganize every year, but there's a lot of value and consistency in some of those positions that we don't see. You tend to see the chair, vice chair, treasurer, some of those roles stay in those positions for more than just the 1-year term.
okay.
So, want to highlight at MMEA, the MMEA executive director, Katie Abraham, and the general manager over at Holland, Dave Koster, two incredibly well-respected people in public power world, had the opportunity to testify at the House Energy Committee's invitation to just talk about the Michigan energy landscape, legislative landscape, and how it's impacting municipals. There's been some acknowledgement that the current energy legislation has some challenges, and specifically, there's been some challenges brought up about reliance on natural gas RICE units for reliability purposes, amongst other things. So, but they had the opportunity to talk and share our story. They've done quite a few tours with legislators out at the Holland Energy Park, which is a really amazing facility and a heck of a facility to have to showcase municipal utilities in the state. Want to highlight that the office will be closed next Thursday. Yes, for a company-wide CPR, first aid, stop the bleed training. We're very fortunate to have, I don't know exactly what her title is, but she's a certified trainer that trains a lot of, I think she trains Grand Rapids. Yeah, does all the training for Grand Rapids, and she happens to live on her system. She's incredibly talented, and that's pretty cool. So we're just gonna shut the office down so that the office staff has the ability to participate in that. That's a big priority for us, especially when it comes to first aid, CPR. These are things that you may need in your personal life, and I'm happy to dedicate the time to make it available to the office staff as well. So did want to highlight that. Want to highlight the Lowell Arts Public Art Initiative. I don't know if everybody's following along with this, but they're trying to put up 5 murals. Originally, Jim, I think you're probably more knowledgeable
They're
than me.
doing 2 right now with 3 in the
3,
next
yeah.
couple years after that. There's some costs. My only concern about that, and I've seen tons of it, if it's $100,000 in the last 3 years, what's the investment on that? What's the buildings, if they're gonna put out buildings and the painting and the feeling, and what does that structure look like? That's my only concern that I have is how they're gonna fund it. They're still looking for all that stuff and,
I know they've got some funding now.
yeah.
Luckily, I thought it was really neat. Janet, the executive director of Lowell Arts, reached out and asked about our building. So I had the opportunity to write a letter of support for one of their funding requests, because they do have funding, but we're looking at kind of the back door where the robotics team goes in, using the door and kind of that corner of the building to paint a mural.
Why
To be
not
determined.
along the whole, like, backside towards the parking lot? Because, I mean, it would really bring that parking lot to life.
A lot of it is the natural gas infrastructure there. We want to avoid because you got the fence and it's screened, so
Right.
you can't really do anything. I think the shape would be weird. In part of it, she said that she wanted to focus on the area that was visible, so we'll see designs when the time comes, but I think.
Finance.
But yeah,
Okay.
the natural gas infrastructure there makes it a little bit challenging on the east side of the building.
Mhm.
It would have to be like a reverse Oklahoma shape mural.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that, I mean, it would be the, concrete block backside and then just the fence, not the building.
We can talk about it. So for me, it's their
Right.
project. I'm happy to support. Obviously, I want final say. I want us to have, as a utility, to have final say, final approval on this design. Can't be anything that's potentially,
I don't know if they named the other potential 3 locations or 4 at this point. I'm not aware. So
I'm not
I haven't
sure.
seen, I'm not on that committee.
and I'm not sure if we're part of the first 2 or we're on the subsequent one. I know.
7 days.
Yeah, they're expecting to roll. So I was happy to support it. I think it would be a great initiative. I think it'd be awesome if they would do something around the robotics team, but I have no clue what their intention is. So my guess is they have other ideas and that's great for them. I'm not an artist and nobody's ever asked for my artistic opinion about anything. So
Well,
that tells you what it's worth.
I believe from your board standpoint, it should be something that you guys would want to approve.
Yes.
And yes, it fits our legacy, whatever you call it, how you guys feel about it.
It's
Here, we're gonna put it out,
exactly.
kind of negative fee that's on your building.
No, it's gonna be something that we have the ability to approve and I want to share it with the board before approving anything and really want buy-in. I think it's awesome to be a part of cool community initiatives like that. We've been part of the community for going on 130 years now, so we got a pretty cool legacy here. Other thing I want to highlight is just kind of priming for next month. Anticipate doing a strategic plan review with the board, and what we want to get into is we're going to meet internally later this month to talk, really look ahead to the rest of this fiscal year, to kind of look at the next 18 months in focus, which starts to inform our budget process, which we are just around the corner from. March, as a reminder, the board will see the preliminary budget in March. So we always kick off the budget process with an internal review, and then we'll report out to the board next month, and we'll ask for feedback and take any of that feedback and update the strategic plan. We've reviewed it some. I think it's pretty sound. We want to highlight how we're advancing certain initiatives and strategic priorities, but just kind of wanted to prime the pump on that one. And then most importantly, I want to take a second and praise each department. If you pause, if you don't read anything else in the board packet, please read the department projects update that I have in my manager's report, because each department has a lot going on. Casey and Zach have been working with Verdantis. Casey's been busy evaluating expanded generation. Zach's dealing with an incredibly busy capital budget, tons of challenges with that. The office staff's working on the NIC conversion. We're moving along great with insurance broker discussions. We're gearing up for a broader and more detailed customer survey this spring. The office is going through a pretty big initiative to document critical processes more thoroughly for business continuity's sake. So, and this is all on top of all very busy schedules and very busy workloads that are just normally part of everything. So, really wanted to just take a minute and sing the praises of our staff and the elements that they're juggling, even though I know a lot of these may just be touch points for the board. You know, the NISC, I know we touched on a couple times, but the work really starts after you guys give the approval. And so now granted, we had a lot of evaluation work, but the heavy lifting starts after the approval. And there's just a lot going on, the EWR programs, planning for the business breakfast. So it's all good, all very good. And lastly, we had three birthdays and or three anniversaries, not birthdays. I was thinking birthdays for some reason. I like birthdays too. Anniversaries, but Zach's been with us for 8 years. Tony's been with us for 3 years now, that's the one that had 3 years now. Flown by. Unfortunately, it also means it's been 3 years since we lost Betsy. But been great having Tony. Obviously, Zach has been incredibly successful here and a ton of contributions. And then this is kind of an internal joke, but Julie celebrated 15 years, and for the first 4 years I was here, it was 10 in my head, because when I got here, she was 10 years of experience, and now in my head, I can shift to 15 years of experience. So now for the next 5 years, it'll be 15 and I'll reset at 20. But I mean, talk about an awesome team and some awesome anniversaries to celebrate there. And with that, we'll roll on to pictures. Got to start with a little bit of fun. Had a great time. But we also, something unique we did this year is the office organized a prom donation drive. And each day for 10 days, there was a different item that you had to bring in, and you got a certain number of points depending on how it was. So we ended up donating over 400 items. It got incredibly competitive. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was neat. It was something to give back to the community, and what a great way.
So who won?
So who was the winner?
I was not about to lose. It was Zach was close. Tony was close. Yeah, we had a small gift card for the winner that just got donated back to From. So it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it.
Great idea.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't even know where the idea came from. I don't know. Was it? I don't know. It was a great idea. I should know where the idea came from. It was a ton of fun.
Very
Good
good.
idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ton of fun. Had a great time. Culminated with our little winter Christmas get together, and that's all of our fun gear from that.
Were you guys competitive with what you wore too?
What's that?
Are you competitive with what you're wearing for the?
Oh, absolutely. Who won this year? Hillary won in her jumpsuit.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's
Mark was the winner last year.
Yeah.
Mark showed up in Christmas Peaches last year, and that was funny. And Mark actually shouldn't be recorded, but whatever. Mark lost his pants last year because he went to change to put his pajama pants on and forgot that he just put them on over his blue jeans, and went to go leave and couldn't find his jeans. Be reminded that they were still on. That was fun. No,
Must be really comfy jeans.
gotta have a little bit of fun. We had a good meal and enjoyed everybody's company and played some fun games. Had a good time. We really got a good team. And then next one was just a Tri-County Homeworks mutual aid. You start to get an idea what kind of working conditions they're in. Yeah, and I can tell you, not from firsthand experience, but from common sense, that the wind seems to blow real hard at the top of the pole. So they really got, I mean, and Ryan, Mark and Jared, they work great together. We've got all of our line workers are great, but that's a really effective crew, having two different foremen and an apprentice heading out, helping. They got some work done. And those are the pictures.
So the pictures, show they had to do some, climbing, huh?
Yeah.
They didn't get to use the bucket truck everywhere.
Nope, that is,
How you doing, climb 3 poles?
we found all three of them.
Although Bird Dog did get Jared, right before lunch, they all went to a restaurant and the Bird Dog's like, as they're walking in, told Jared.
We explained to the rest of what's.
So Bird Dog chauffeurs you for the storm. So he takes you to your show up, he takes you to your hotel, he takes you to your jobs, and is kind of your communication between the company and that. And so you get to know him really well because you're with them for 16 hours a day. And on one of the days, they're walking into this restaurant at lunch, and he's like, Jared, I won't eat too much. You got a big climber after lunch. So Jared goes in, doesn't eat a thing, gets his to go, and turns out there's no climber after lunch.
There you go.
Now he knows it's a price here next time.
Yeah, the problem is if you eat something,
Yeah,
then
that speaks volumes,
you're
though.
gonna be fine.
That speaks volumes that they feel comfortable doing with you guys.
They had a great time. out there.
They feel comfortable with you. Great. Bravo.
Okay, also you'll see, on your dates, it says February 11th. That is actually the 10th. Earlier in the packet, it does state the 10th. So just date that cross someplace.
February 10th, we'll see you all.
Okay.
Okay, with that, board comments. Tina?
Bravo for helping those people. And it speaks volumes that they're able, like I just said, that they can kid with you, they're comfortable with you. And they know that you're a fellow worker, that they don't feel threatened by you. And that's huge, because in this day and age, and the landscape that's out there, there's a lot of people that are jealousy or what have you, thinking that you know, who do you think you are coming over here and giving us help? And you guys, it just speaks volumes that these people went over there, and I'm proud because you represented us. They represented us and the team that we have here. This whole, the team in the office and out in, hitting the boots on the ground. You guys, I'm just so proud of you, because you guys just, you're easy to brag about. So that's my thanks to you. That's all I got.
Okay, changing it up. We're gonna crisscross back and forth.
All right, well, yeah, Zach, congratulations on 8 years, and thank you for your dedication. Also to Tony and Julie for their service, and yeah, just really happy that we can provide help to other communities and still take care of ourselves. I mean, didn't we have on one of the dates, no, that was Christmas Eve, and that was what date did you guys leave?
We left, I believe, the 28th and came back first.
Okay, so it was, okay, that one outage was before the.
Christmas, we had an outage.
Yeah.
At like 11 o'clock at night.
Christmas night.
So
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah, but I will say that thing was, I was off. Zach and I talked, and Zach said, "Hey, it was really windy the initial day, the morning after the storm hit, and to make sure that we were in good shape, Zach asked the guys we held back on sending the crew until we were sure we could get through the really bad windy day, make sure we didn't have any outages. Luckily, we didn't. But as soon as it kind of cleared up here at home, we were able to send crews to help. So we want to always help, but obviously we've got to make sure we've got things in order at home.
Okay. Andrew,
Well, congratulations to Julie, Zach, and Megan, or not Megan, Tony. I just looked at the table. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I get my eyes open, but yes, I'm glad that there's so many employees that decide to keep sticking around. I'm sure that makes their job easier too, and to be honest, it makes the board's job easier, just having so many good staff members that are sticking around.
Absolutely.
And oh yeah, I was going to provide an update on the robotics because I think after the last tournament, I missed the meeting, so you guys couldn't find out. But so the middle school team, their season's done. We had 2 tournaments we went to. And then the second one of our teams managed to make it to the final tournament of that tournament, so they finished like top 12 or something,
That's great.
That's
which is
Oh
the
my
second time
gosh.
that's ever happened to a middle school little team. Yeah. Another of the teams won an award for part of their portfolio, or part of the non-robotic part, but there's like other things you can go in for awards for. So it's been great. The team's doing that. We had 4 teams this year, up from 3 last year. To the point we had to alternate build sessions, because the workspace, as nice as it is, 4 teams with 40 middle schoolers is
Wow.
that's a lot. Yeah, and but yes, it was, it's just so nice, especially when we think back to what we had, which was a high school biology classroom where we had to pack up everything into the closet when we were done. So our first 20 minutes of every build session was unpack everything out of the closet, and that was one team. I don't know if we hadn't had this, I don't know how we could have had 3 teams.
Wow.
But I know that one of the big things also was there was a summer camp that was hosted here, and all the teams made sure they talked about it in the judging portion, and a lot of the judges were really keen on that, like, whoa, summer camp, that's really pretty cool, and so the fact that we actually have a spot that we can just say, hey, we have a cool idea for summer camp, it's here, so I definitely appreciating Light Power for allowing them to have that space, even though the coach is kind of like, boy, when can we have the other side of the wall,
well, let's,
but that's something.
so are you on part of the management team? I don't know what you want to call it, of the robotics,
Coaches.
I was one
coaches,
of the mentors.
volunteers.
Well, for the middle school, I was one of the mentors. High school team just kicked off a couple days ago. I'm not part of that this time around.
So we have talked about it,
Mhm.
and now that we have floor and everything in there, we're not going to give you the whole side, the other side, but we are going to basically about half of that. We want to move the walls. When we built the walls, we built them in 4-foot sections. We can take it apart, move it, so it'll be more L-shaped. And we just need to, because it's volunteers, myself, and we just need to get the robotics team a date when they can remove everything off the walls over there and get anything so that we can reposition the one wall to give them more space.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, it'll be at the end of, probably, I would say, at the end of the high school season.
That's kind of what I figured is we wanted to get probably to, my thought was and right now we don't have, we're incredibly busy, which that's a good problem to have. But the robotics team's busy. So the thought was we'll take advantage of when the season's over, in season ending and summer camps, anything like that. So,
yeah,
but I need to intend to reach out to Brian and just coordinate with him and start start organizing. But yeah, I think we need to keep there's some issues as far as we got a stairwell to lead to the pit in the
Right.
basement that, don't think that's a great idea to put kids in an area where they have that access. They'll have fun with it.
Mhm.
Heck, the blood drive people wanted to go down there. I think Zach gave a tour of the basement. So if the blood drive people are interested, I can guarantee a couple middle schoolers will be crawling around in the basement.
You know that grate inside the book?
Oh, yep.
They're always peeking under the cardboard there, like under here, and I always tell them, it's like, I can't tell you, I'm sorry, it's just secret.
I want to reach out to the Ryder Jones, the local author, and tell him he needs to incorporate our basement into one of his buildings
Yes.
or one of his
Do
books.
it, yeah.
What's in the light and power tunnel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've looked at it, and I think it's very, some of the rail, we're gonna take and move that, a portion of the wall, might have to build a few more sections, but anchor them, to the posts that are there. So, yeah, we're gonna do it, we're gonna get it done. So,
Awesome, yes, that's gonna be very
Pole barn
appreciated.
over here?
huh?
Does that come with a pole barn over here?
No.
More storage.
Yeah.
I've got some plans in the works for some potential need. We got some storage needs here, and if we've got some construction needs for new generation, I'll probably be lobbying the board for some additional storage over here. Part of it is one of the things that we do here. The only thing we really use that space for is some employee gatherings, but not really. What it really gets used for is appliance storage. And we could, if we were able to build a multi-purpose pole barn, we could definitely more efficiently store some of those appliances, because I don't anticipate us stopping that offering, even if the legal opportunities, the legislative opportunities, that appliance recycling is a good service that we provide to our customers. So I'd like to continue to do that, even if we don't get EWR credit for it.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, definitely not a rush on that. It's just the high school team has one robot, and it's a bigger robot, but they're just fine and there for that. But yeah, by the time next middle school season, because I never would have guessed that we would need 4 teams.
That's why
Um,
it's great.
Yeah, which makes me, at some point, it might be a second high school team. I don't know, but we'll have to let these kids kind of get older and see what happens.
Not just
I
at Lowell, but it's expanding all over with a lot of schools.
Oh, yeah.
Are doing robotic. It's
Yeah.
really good.
I think, I mean, Kenwood, I think they have like 8 or something or more middle school teams. But yeah, it's definitely a good thing. And so I'm glad we're involved with it from a board member's perspective and also from the other side too. So.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I should also mention that. So during the judging portion, on the team I was mentoring, one of the kids had the idea that we should thank all sponsors. There's a whole bunch, but then one of the mentors said, "Well, just focus on the big one." So he goes up there, he's like, "Well, thank Light and Power and 2 others, or 2 or 3, whoever he's like, who's got the biggest stickers, right?" So that's what I was doing, but it was kind of just like well, that's right. This is something that Light and Power puts effort into, and so.
Just remember, to get some votes, if you wear a big block S on your shirt someday, that would go a long way.
Only if it's that big red one that says Superman.
So, anything else?
I'm good.
Daniel?
Thank you.
Yeah, Charlie talked to me about meeting with the city on time or at some point, and I just want to say I thought that was a great idea to kind of formalize it. Even though I think we can all probably talk to each other outside if we need to, but I thought that was good. And I also want to say thanks to the city for the space for the business breakfast. I bought a truck, I don't know, week before Christmas, and I was up in Newaygo, and the guy I bought it from had like multiple face garage, and one of his garage doors went right into a pole. Like as you pulled out, you had to basically turn the car to go around a pole. And I was like, yo, man, that pole is what's up with that? And he's like, oh yeah, I had to fight with consumers to get the guideline moved. And that's all they would do. They want to charge me whatever it was. And we started talking about it. And I'm not sure where we would say that we would move that pole for someone in that situation, but I know that it would be on our list of things we could tackle if we were in the area. And the reliability aspect of having somebody have a garage that, you know, a driveway that goes into a pole is probably not a good reliability issue. And it just highlighted, that part highlighted like that we would do that differently, and our smaller, more local footprint allows us to take those things into consideration where, you know, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to go on too much about consumers, but another thing that we ended up talking about, because I said, hey, I got involved in this board. I've gone down this rabbit hole of figuring these things out, and more than I ever planned to know about power. And we talked about, oh yeah, I was getting bills, and there was this fee for, you know, EWR, whatever he was going into. And I was like, well, to be fair, like that, like service fee isn't accurate to what it costs to serve your house. And it kind of highlighted that if someone was to come to us, me or us or Light Power in general, and say, look at this bill, what is this fee? Why is this so much? Why is this changing? And that we have given it like research, thought of being able to stand behind that number. But this is pretty close to like what it costs to serve your house. That's why we show it that way. We're trying to be accurate, transparent. And it just, it dawned on me that there's such a value in that effort that we put towards looking at the bill. Because, you know, people will come, and we're also local. So you're not calling, most people aren't calling consumers and going, hey, my bill, da, da, da. People will walk up to our office and do that. And it's nice to be able to go, hey, I have an answer for you. Here's how we come up with this number. Here's what it really means. Here's why we separate it, and various things like that. So just something that happened in my daily life that gave me thought to what we do. And so it was a good moment. I was like, you guys need to get your Newego Light Power up and going, man. So you'll get better rates, that's for sure. And maybe they'll move that pole. But yeah, I thought it was nice. It was a nice thing that happened. Like, I mean, it was nice to be informed and be able to like talk about it and be like, oh yeah, I'm good on what I'm saying. I'm not just picking stuff out of the air and sounding good. So yeah, and that's all I got.
Tim,
Congratulate everybody on an anniversary date. They're great dates, you know, 3, 8, and 15, you know. And a part of it. One thing I do want to thank Light and Power for the Christmas tree shred pile over there. I don't know if you shredded them yet. I did see somebody, I don't know if it was a senior from Bose on Bose Road, had tried to move a tree down there. They got in front of the what is it? Retirement building. I forgot what it's called. And they dropped the tree there. That's where they left it.
Yeah.
So I did call the city and said, hey, there's a tree there. You know, can you take it down? It's like a couple blocks, 2, 3 blocks
Right.
away. Huh?
Did they bring it down?
It's gone. I think so. Somebody did go get that. The other thing I want to say is that as we look at boards, you know, I've been sitting on this one for quite a while as far as being the liaison, and I don't think you guys give yourself enough credit for the board you guys are. It's emotional for me because I sit here week after week and watch you guys perform, and you guys do a tremendous job in that part of it. So these guys do a great job, but so do you. So that's what I wanted to say tonight. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, First thing, so coming up, and I've talked to Charlie, haven't had a chance to talk to Zach. I know Zach and Charlie have been talking. In all purposes, we think we're going to attend the Lineman's Rodeo this year. It's in Huntsville, Alabama, which is, I just Googled it a minute ago, is 10 hours and 30 minutes. So, drive. So I'm sure we'll be.
Hours. Who's gonna be in the truck with you?
No one by the end. No one by the end.
Mark, through them, I don't let them get out.
Yeah.
You know. I, like when I go vacation with my wife, I'll stop anywhere if you give me enough notice. But if we go past it, I'm not turning around. So,
Oh, you wanted to stop at that. That's it. Yes.
which is March 27th and 28th, which is the Friday and Saturday. Well, I'm sure we'll be going down a day or two, but, you know, to get the tent set up and, you know, where we're gonna be and all that kind of stuff. So the details are to come, but, you know, as a board member, if you're interested, talk to Charlie and we'll figure it out. March meeting, so, and I'm looking ahead, so I will not be here at the March meeting. I will be out celebrating my grandson and granddaughter's birthday in Denver. And hopefully I will be taking a new puppy out to them, if I can get them to say yes, but we're still work.
What kind of puppy?
A German short hair.
Okay.
But they lost theirs a couple of months ago and they're not, you know, if it's too soon or all those different questions. Expanding the robotics, we already talked about that. Another, again, this doesn't have to be here, but another, if we are, I'm a big, because Pink Arrow has them, my son has 4 of them. I'm a big proponent of storage containers, the shipping containers. They're, in my opinion, they're really inexpensive. Put a coat of paint on them, especially in a industrial setting, and you can get them, you know, basically 3 different sizes, 20 footers, 40 footers, and 40-foot high. And you can put a lot of things in it, and they're portable. I'll get them, set them here, and then I'll send you. I'm not saying I love buildings and that type of thing, but again, in a pinch, they're airtight. They're a good deal. So I would be looking at that.
You can paint murals on those too.
I was just thinking, boy, paint a mural on one of those would be cool. No.
But, and I can tell you afterwards, they're relatively, in my opinion, very inexpensive. As compared to building a shed, because I've built a couple sheds for my daughter and out in Denver, and you're going, geez, if your ordinance would hold that, I'd put one of those there in a heartbeat. So, that's really all I had. Congratulations to those with anniversaries, and someday a project is, I'd be curious, company-wide, what we really do have in years. You know, what, marks it 25, 26 years, you know, and, huh?
I mean, out of the longevity of all the staff.
You know, and add all those up and it, you know, and we have a lot of new, young employees. But we also have a great balance, you know, so anyway, I'd be curious what that really does add up to. And with that, I guess, anything else anybody has? Anything?
I did have one more thing that I wanted to bring up. So as part of getting ready for the business breakfast and everything, and I know this will make one board member happy, we are going to update headshots. And yeah, You weren't sure where I was going with that one. But I'd like to update the board's headshots as well. And just wanted to quick poll. Would it be a challenge if we set up or ask Lisa to set up, she's got all the equipment to take headshots. She's very talented. So, wanted to just get the board's feedback on when it might make sense. If we lined it up for 5:30 before a board meeting, would board members be able to come a little bit early, get your headshot? We'd all sit here in fancy clothes, be an abnormal board meeting. Yes. Well, I don't know exactly. I just want to know in general, would
Probably, I think that's a good idea.
yeah,
It's hard with Monday through Friday type schedules.
that's,
When you
I
guys
figured
are in
during the
office.
day it would be tough. Board meetings, there's some overlap, maybe do 5:15 set up, we have her come down here, set up, we can come in, take pictures and step in, but more to come. She just asked me to reach out. We're gonna try and figure out what makes sense, but, I could use a new headshot.
I got a driver's license this morning. And the first one I was like, oh, that's awful. Like, yeah, put your chin down a little bit. And then the second one I go, that's also horrific, but I'm not doing any more, man. Let's go with it.
The lady that took my driver's license picture would not take it without me smiling.
I tried not to smile.
Told me I will not take your picture unless you smile.
This is my smile.
Which is ironic, 'cause your passport, you can't smile.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was the only other thing. I wanted to just get general thoughts. I'll work with Lisa and I'll keep the board kind of informed and might shoot a text out just asking who all's available, and we'll get everything updated for the website.
So, and with that, I guess also if you just make a form or whatever, or, because again, every once in a while I'll read through or read mine or whatever and going, well, my daughter doesn't work there anymore, or this, I got 2 grandkids now, or I got 3 grandkids now, and those types of things. Besides updating the pictures, also update the verbiage.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Very good.
Yeah, I'll probably ask, I'm sure you can find it. We'll get a template or something, ask a certain few questions. Pick which one you want, we'll keep it all together. We'll try to make it a little easy, fill in the blank. So we will see. More to come.
Okay, anything else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.